This episode of Women of More is brought to you by the residents of Harlem Flats. The residents of Harlem Flats is the perfect location for those who are seeking the finer things in life. Hey, this is Women of More magazine, and I am Michelle Washington, and welcome to this show where I sit down and speak to some amazing, incredible, phenomenal, extraordinary women. And today, my goodness, I already know this is going to be a great conversation because behind the scenes, I had to stop her from talking to me because I wanted you to hear our conversation. Today, I sit with Marla Blunt-Carter. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Michelle.
Now, listen, I already told you I don't know why we haven't met each other yet. I heard about your name and what you have done in the community, but we never crossed paths.
Right.
But I'm glad today. Timing is everything.
I agree. I'm excited.
So, Marla, tell us the 10 people that don't know who you are. Only 10 because I know you are known around the world. But those 10 people that don't know who Marla Blunt-Carter is, tell us who you are.
Gosh. Well, I think like all women, I'm many things, right? I'm a wife, a mother, a sister, a daughter, a political consultant. Now, that's something that a lot of people are not. An assistant professor from the School of Social Work, and just somebody that really cares about social justice and social change. So I'm a woman.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I am.
And that's what you are first.
Yes.
Have you learned how to master being a woman?
At 52, I think so. I think so. I think watching women like my mom and my grandmothers, as we spoke of off camera, I've had a lot of women in my life that have been good role models for me, that were willing to pour into me. And so now at the age that I am very serious and committed to doing that for others.
Yeah.
I have a lot of mentees, and people tease me all the time. They're like, Marla, is that one of your mentees? But I tend to want to help people that want to do good. And if they're women, that makes me even more excited.
Why women? Why women?
I think because I identify with their struggles, but also because I want to see them succeed.
Yeah.
Right? I know that there were women that made me who I am today.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I love my dad. Everybody says I'm a smaller, younger female version of Ted Blunt. But I'm really an extension and a reflection of my sisters and of my mom and of my daughter, who's 15. So I think that it's important that we support each other, right? I value sisterhood, and that's why women, because I think sisterhood is what is needed. The village that we often talk about is made up primarily of strong women that don't get any respect.
Now, Marla, a lot of people use sisterhood,
Right.
and I think we use it sometimes because it sounds fancy.
Right.
It's trending at a
Right.
particular time.
Right.
But what is sisterhood to you?
Okay, so I'm the youngest, right?
Okay.
I'm the baby of three. And my older sister is well accomplished. My middle sister is also well accomplished. She's an engineer. But we were really close. We were only a year apart. My older sister, Lisa, was 4 years older, so she was like my role model. I wanted to be like her, like the Stevie Wonder song, Do Like You. I looked up to her.
Okay.
But my middle sister, Thea, was my road dog. That was my partner. We got in trouble together. We went to the creek together.
Yeah.
We did everything together. And I think because I grew up with two amazing sisters, I had a roadmap. I had an example of what sisterhood not only looked like, but felt like, right? So it might be trendy now, but it's been my life for 52 years to be a beneficiary of good sisters, but also to see what the responsibility of sisterhood meant, right? I never pledged. I'm not a joiner of women's organizations per se.
Okay. And that's by choice, or
it's by choice because I my circles are very open, and so I value those women organizations because people didn't have sisters like I had.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons why I didn't pledge, was because my other two sisters didn't pledge. Had they done it, I probably would have,
Right.
because I valued them. Right. But I think that a lot of women didn't have a Lisa and a Thea, right? And so there is a need for organizations where women can come together and share and support and love on each other.
Yeah.
I am a part of an organization of women that is focused on service. It's not a sorority. It's a service organization called the Links, which is an international women's organization. And to me, that organization was very similar to the love and support and sisterhood that I experienced growing up as a child here in Delaware.
So, Marla, I know that oftentimes women have a definition of supporting women. And
Right.
sometimes it's an event, sometimes it's fancy, sometimes it's just,
Right.
I'm going to do a selfie with you
Right.
and we post it on social media.
Right.
But I know it goes deeper than that. There are some women that don't understand the meaning of supporting. How do we as women really support each other? How should we?
Right.
And how do you define it?
So when I described who I was, one of the things that I said was that I'm a professor of social work, right? And in the code of ethics of my profession, one of the key values or the core principles is the dignity and worth of a person. That's one of the core principles. I think that when we talk about support, if I see your worth, I'm able to show up for you. If I value you, if I value what we have, if I understand, another core principle is the value of human relationships. So if I value the connection and understand what a relationship is, a relationship requires that there's some kind of reciprocity, right? I'm going to show up for you. But that means that you will then show up for me when I need something.
Right.
That to me is support. Now, whether that is showing up financially, right? When a sister's running for office, or showing up to an event because I did all of this work to put this on, or just liking my Facebook post, right? Really just showing up. That to me is support. Show up in any way you can.
But Marla, the reason why you could show up that way is because you said it moments ago.
I saw it before.
You saw it before.
Right.
And you know who you are.
That's right.
You know who you are. There are some women that are adults like us.
But Michelle, okay, I know who I am because I put the work in to get to know who I am. So if you want, and it's the same for relationships with women, if you want good sisters, you got to be a good sister.
Wait, Marla, you got to slow down on that one.
Right.
Because that's important.
Right.
Because it's not just a feeling. You have to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So repeat that again.
In order to be a good sister, though, right? You have to show up. You can't just expect somebody else to be a good sister to you, right? You have to also be a good sister to them. And I think that it's not that hard. But I think there's a lot of fear because people are afraid to be transparent. They don't. And to your point about me really knowing who I am, that journey of authenticity actually came through adversity. I didn't just show up at 52 and be like, I love me. That didn't happen overnight, right? And I think you're right. When it comes to women trusting women, it does stem from not loving self. My journey to loving self came from an autoimmune disorder that I was diagnosed with in my 30s, and it's one that's called vitiligo, and it led to a complete depigmentation of my body. Growing up, I was a little chocolate girl. I wouldn't quite say chocolate, more like caramel. But my skin was more brown.
Wow.
And it wasn't until my 30s that I started to experience this depigmentation all over my body, spots.
Wow.
I gave a TED talk about it. And what happens when your identity is stripped away, right? I was a black woman that was no longer black. I was racially ambiguous. Over time, all of my color went away. Now, everybody doesn't suffer vitiligo in the same way. Some people, they stay depigmented in different places. Sometimes it repigments itself. We don't know. And I think that that is something that is very frustrating for me, because I often wonder if it was not a disease that impacted, or a disorder that impacted people of color, would we know more answers? But that's a whole nother discussion for another day. But in that journey of losing my complexion and feeling as though I was losing myself,
Yeah.
and looking in the mirror every day at someone I didn't know, that was hard.
That's good.
Because
Marla.
then I'm still a very public person.
Yeah.
I'm running campaigns, I'm out here speaking at events, but then putting on makeup and trying to blend these two different complexions, and presenting this confidence but feeling insecure. That struggle of 15 years, I am just getting to a place where I can even have this conversation. So that does get in the way. When you don't love yourself, it is hard to connect to another person, to trust a sister. I said, but the two people that I could be my authentic self as I was going through this transition were my sisters.
Yeah.
Right?
That's good, Marla.
Right? So it just deepened my love for sisterhood.
And they covered you.
Absolutely.
They loved you through it.
They loved me through it.
Absolutely.
And so here I am on the other side. Some days I'll do a spray tan so that when I look in the mirror, I see something that's closer to who I feel myself to be for 30 years. Some days feeling lazy, not wanting to have to put on what I think is my own personal mask. I don't, but it's a choice.
It is a choice.
And it's a journey, but it's a journey that I believe that I've been placed on so that I can kind of encourage people to see the strength in their vulnerability, right?
Marla, we need people like you to be, and I know you're behind the scenes leader, and that's fine because we need leaders behind the scenes as well. But we need women like yourself in the forefront. And we talked about this a little bit, how there are women that has marked history. So you and I can do exactly what we're doing now. But you don't see it like back then. Not that we have to do it like that, but there's not a lot of women that are on the forefront that's continuing this movement. Because you and I both said that we've always been here.
Right.
We're not trending as women, and I hate that.
That's right.
But we've always been here, but we don't see those women up front.
Right. I think we've always been here. I think we're here now. I mean, if you look at what happened in this last election, we have over 100 women now in Congress, right? That's happening. And when you talked about me being behind the scenes, I feel that I can have a greater impact in helping women run for office. You know, I can, and I'm not going to mention some of the folks that I work with this past election cycle, but that's what I do. You know, I encourage, I inspire, I continue to support individuals. I even identify candidates to run, right? Because I think it's important that we have that representation for people to see. But on the other side, I also, in the academic realm, feel it is our responsibility to train up this army of powerful women, right? So wherever you are, whatever platform you're given, I think it's an opportunity to be that example. I don't think everyone has to run for president in order to inspire people. Or, you know, there are women everywhere that are doing great things in community and in homes. We talked about, you know, the inspiration of our grandmothers, right? And how just the way that they could go to work for 10 hours and then come home and make homemade biscuits. Hello, I don't make homemade biscuits. Now, I can do a lot of things, but biscuit making ain't one of them, right? And so I don't know. I mean, I think that there are powerful, wonderful women that we've never not been out here doing this stuff, right?
Absolutely.
I know one of the women that I am really into these days that I'm starting to really study and research is Ida B. Wells Barnett. who was, one of the pioneers in the suffragette movement. Now we're talking about women's, the third feminist wave and all of these other things. But, Susan B. Anthony's and where's Ida B. Wells? Somebody that was fighting not just for women to have rights, but for people of color. And that intersectionality is really something that I think we need to explore as women. Where do our oppressions overlap, and how can we find strength in that?
Absolutely. And Marla, even with where we are today and we're getting into the offices, we're getting into those positions that we can, speak to the things that matters to us. One of the things I'm finding, and it's very hurtful and it's not a compliment, and I hear it all the time, that we are emotional. We are, but we're looked upon as that versus men being who they are, because they have emotions, they just demonstrate them differently.
Right.
One of the things that I was even told as a little girl, you're too bossy. Actually, I've heard that as an adult. But why is it that we get those labels, but men get the labels of strong and courageous, but we're bossy because I'm sure you have come across different encounters.
Oh, please. So one of the words or the descriptions that I often get was that I'm intimidating, which I embrace. I'm like, be scared, right? I'm not going to shrink just so you can feel comfortable. But I do want to talk about the fact that we don't want to be perceived as being less than. We meaning women, and so we kind of deflect or try to not be these things that are associated with female or feminine, or and I think that that's doing a disservice to anyone who has those characteristics or those traits, male or female. So when we say that someone's emotional, that is a strength. That could be, just use a different word. They're passionate. They are, there's intensity to what it is that they're doing. But we allow those characterizations it's a negative stereotype it then takes away one of the gifts that person may have.
Absolutely.
Because we don't like that label. So I often tell individuals that I run for office, no, you run in that. You don't run away from it. That's your strength. If you present that as who you are, then they can choose that or not. But you will never be that other thing if that's not who you are. Right? That's an imitation of something. And they definitely don't want that. Right? So present who you are, whatever it is.
Without shame, without guilt.
That's right.
Without consideration of how others is going to consume you.
You personally not buying into this narrative
but that's it.
That it's less than.
That's it.
Because it's different. No, we don't want the same. That's why we voted for you, or we selected you.
Or we want to just support you.
Absolutely.
At whatever level or whatever entity you're in because of you.
I said to some students at an event last week, we got into the discussion of code switching. We speak this way, but in this space we speak that way, or we present this, but in actuality this might be more of who we are.
Right.
And they said, well, Professor, you don't seem to code switch. It's like when you're teaching, you just talk to us like you talk on the corner, or you bring the academic, but you also bring your realness. And I said, well, because what I've come to realize, and I've made some hard choices and walked away from some serious things because it wasn't worth the sacrifice that I would have to make, the compromises in order for me to show up and be that person that I was not. So when I present myself, I'm presenting a woman that is happy to be female. I'm presenting a person of color, both when I was brown and now that I'm beige, still that, right? I'm presenting a very proud married woman, mother, sister, resident of the great state of Delaware. All of that comes into the room, and I present all of it. Now, if you don't want any of that, then you don't want me.
Right.
But I'm not going to present something and then have to continue to live that lie because you told me that that's what you value. Well, then I'm obviously don't fit into that culture.
Marla, but you don't, all of you don't present it in a way that with attitude. You just show up like today. You just showed up and I could tell the confidence. I could tell the sincerity and the kindness of who you are. There are some women out there that feel like if you don't like it, you know, they start popping in that.
Well,
that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being authentic, original of who you are.
And it's funny because it's not the attitude, it's presenting in love. I want to bring my best to things. And all of those things define me, right? So they all need to be present, and then we'll figure out if it's a good fit. But it's not, I'm not changing. No, that's not it. This is who I am, and I know who I am. I know who I am. Maybe you don't know who you are yet. And that's why there's this defensiveness. I'm not pushing back, right? I'm asking you to see me for who I am. And I think that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
You know, and it takes a lot of courage to do it. And it's exhausting.
Yeah. Marla, as we celebrate Women's History Month, it's one of my favorite months of the year. It's because it's my birthday as well. But as we celebrate women in history, what do you want to be known for?
You know, I came to social work 20 years ago. I grew up in a political family. My dad ran for office, started working on campaigns as young as 9 years old. So I've always seen how people's lives are impacted by systems. And I've run kind of towards this commitment to social justice in a way over the last 20 years that I think what I want to be remembered for most as I think about my mentees and my students and the candidates, and I want the textbooks to say that Marla Blunt-Carter made such an impact on bringing social work back to its original purpose.
That's good, Marla.
Which is to advocate for vulnerable populations and to think about communities that need champions. I want the textbook to say in the 21st century, Marla Blunt-Carter brought an army of change agents to the world.
That's so good.
That's what I want.
So
that's why I teach. That's why I fight in community. That's why I support nonprofits that I believe in with everything that I have. I want to make sure that while I was here, I used everything that God gave me to do as much good as I could.
Marla, and it will be written that way. It definitely will. I appreciate you so much. I can't wait to, get to know you more. And I definitely want to be part of your sister circle.
Well,
because
you are.
I know I am.
You are. Man, you're it.
What? Because I know that with you, I'm protected.
You are.
I'm wiser. I'm brighter. I'm loved and appreciated. And I know that because you are being your authentic self. You are a woman in history and definitely a woman of more. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning in today. Listen, we have some more interviews that's going to happen this month. I am Michelle Washington. I am the editor-in-chief of Women of More magazine. And guess what? There's more to you than what you're doing right now. See you next time.